Have you ever experienced this situation? One day you come across a new concept, maybe a strange word, a car model, or a place you've never heard of before. You think it's just another piece of information, but suddenly it seems to appear everywhere. You turn on the TV and hear it in the news. You scroll through social media and find a related post. While walking down the street, you overhear someone mentioning it in a conversation. Is this just a coincidence? Or is something happening inside your brain? This phenomenon is known as the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, also called frequency illusion. When we learn something new, our minds suddenly switch on and pay extra attention to it, making it feel like it's appearing more frequently in our daily lives. However, in reality, the world remains the same. It's just that our brains have changed the way they process information. So why does this happen? Is the universe trying to send us a message? Or is this just a trick of the mind? Let's dive into this fascinating effect and explore how it influences our perception of the world around us. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon is not a mystical event or mere coincidence. In reality, it is the result of how the human brain processes and organizes information. To understand this effect better, we need to explore the mechanisms of how our brains handle new information. Why didn't we notice this before? The human brain cannot process all the information from the world around us. Every day, we are exposed to millions of data points, images, sounds, and sensations. However, only a small fraction of this information is recognized and remembered. A part of the brain called the reticular activating system, RAS, acts as a filter. It determines what is important and what can be ignored. When you learn something new, your brain tags it as relevant, and as a result, you start noticing it more frequently, even though it has always been there. For example, if you recently became interested in a new car model, your RAS helps you spot that model more often on the road. Previously, you wouldn't have paid attention to it. This gives the illusion that the car is suddenly everywhere, but in reality, it's just your brain processing. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon is closely tied to two important psychological effects. Selective attention. The brain focuses on information that relates to your current thoughts or interests, while ignoring less relevant details. Confirmation. Bias. People tend to notice and remember information that supports their existing beliefs, making it seem more common than it actually is. For instance, if you believe that a certain number is lucky, you might start seeing that number everywhere, on license plates, addresses, or receipts. However, other numbers appear just as frequently. But you don't notice them because your brain isn't actively looking for them. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon is not just an interesting psychological effect. It has powerful real-world applications across various fields. From marketing and education to personal perception, it influences how we process and respond to information in our everyday lives. Advertisers are well aware of this effect and leverage it to influence consumer behavior. When you search for a product online, let's say a pair of shoes, you suddenly start seeing ads for the same shoes on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. This isn't solely due to ad algorithms. A significant part of it happens because your brain has tagged the shoes as important. As you begin noticing them more, it feels as if they are appearing everywhere, making you believe they are popular. This psychological trick increases the likelihood of you making a purchase. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon can also be used to enhance learning and memory retention. When you encounter a new vocabulary word or scientific concept, exposing yourself to it through multiple sources, reading, watching videos, or discussing with others, can strengthen your recall. For example, if you start learning Spanish and come across the word hola, hello, you'll soon notice it appearing in movies, songs, or even social media posts. The repeated exposure makes the word more familiar, reinforcing your ability to remember and use it effortlessly. While the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon helps us become more aware of new things, it can also lead to cognitive biases and misperceptions. One of its negative effects is making us believe that something is more common than it actually is. For instance, after reading about a severe car accident in the news, you might start feeling that accidents are happening more frequently, even if the actual statistics remain unchanged. This can create unnecessary fear or anxiety. Additionally, in social and political discussions, this effect can make a person believe that a certain opinion is widely accepted simply because they keep encountering it on social media or in conversations. However, this perception is often shaped by personal cognitive filters rather than an accurate representation of society as a whole. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon is a fascinating example of how our brains process information. Things that once seemed rare or unfamiliar have always been around us. We just didn't notice them before. As our perception shifts, so does our worldview. This effect brings both benefits and challenges. When used wisely, it can become a powerful tool to accelerate learning, improve memory retention, and expand our understanding of the world. However, if we are unaware of it, we may fall into cognitive traps, leading to distorted or biased perceptions of reality. How can we control this effect? Be mindful of your attention. Understanding that your brain filters information in a certain way helps prevent falling into cognitive biases. Leverage the effect for learning. If you want to learn something faster, expose yourself to it repeatedly from different sources. Be cautious of online information. Don't let algorithms and confirmation bias trick you into thinking that a topic is more common or important than it really is. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever experienced the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy psychological insights like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future content. See you next time!